بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Hadith 29 of 40 Hadith. As you remember, this Hadith is narrated by Sheikh Kulayni rahmatullah alayhi in Al-Kafi, and the last narrator is Muawiyah ibn Ammar, who says, سمعت أبا عبد الله عليه السلام يقول. He says, I heard Imam Sadiq alayhi salam saying, كان في وصية النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لعلي عليه السلام. In the will of Rasulullah for the Imam Ali alayhi salam was these points. We explained the meaning and translation of the hadith, but I just read the first part that we want to talk about it today. يا علي أوصيك في نفسك بخصال فاحفظها عني. O Ali, I advise you about yourself with few things. Imam Khomeini says that this wasiyah, this advice or will, was certainly for Imam Ali alayhi salam, not that he was not meant and Rasulullah was only using him as a means to communicate to others. You know, sometimes we talk to someone but we want to give to message to someone else. In Farsi we say به در میگند تا دیوار بشنود, means they speak to the door so that the wall can hear. Or in Arabic they say إياك أعني واسمعي يا جارة, means oh neighbor, I mean you. So sometimes you speak to the household but you mean the neighbor and you want the neighbor to hear. Imam Khomeini says this hadith cannot be taken like this, that it was only for others. No, it was certainly something that was meant for Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, because he says Usika fi nafsika, this is something about yourself. And then also Rasulullah says fahfadha anni, preserve and memorize these things from me. And then he prayed, Allahumma a'inhu, oh Allah, please help Ali. So Imam Ali was certainly meant, but for sure this is not something only for him. When someone like Imam Ali alayhi salam was advised in this way, we also should take it very seriously, because we know that these things are not exclusive to one or few individuals. These are general, and we all should take these things seriously. And you should not be surprised that Rasulullah advises Imam Ali. This was common among the ma'sumin, infallibles, to do wasiyah, tawsiyah to each other. For example, also we have Imam Ali alayhi salam talking to Imam Hassan, for example, and Imam Hussein, and he says in that wasiyah, usikuma wa jami'a wuldi wa ahli wa man balaghahu kitabi. This is my wasiyah, my advice for you and all my children and family and whoever receives this writing, this letter. So this was common, and although they are in a very high level of piety and remembrance of Allah, but this didn't stop the more senior or the previous ma'soom to give advice to the next ma'soom. And it's always a matter of their serious interest or their maximum interest in these points and in the person that they were advising, that they mentioned these things without meaning that that person was not observing this, that person, for example, was failing. No, it's not like that. Okay, so now let us start with the very first thing in this hadith. أما الأولى فالصدق ولا يخرجن من فيك كذبة أبدا. The first is truthfulness, or telling the truth. It seems it's better to say truthfulness because قول الصدق can be telling the truth, and صدق is more than just telling the truth, as we have discussed in other places in akhlaq and about the concept of truthfulness. So the very first thing that Rasulullah highlights here is sidq. Even one lie should not come out of your mouth, because the very first manifestation of truthfulness is when you speak, because this is where people come to know more about you. So when you speak, you should be sure that you don't compromise about the truth. Of course, it's not that every true thing should be said. لَيْسَ كُلُّ مَا يُعْلَمْ يُقَالْ. It's not that everything that you know, you say. But if something you don't know, you should not say. If something you are not sure, you should not say. And even something that you know, it's not that you must always say. So the minimum requirement is to observe the truth, but there are much more that you have to observe about the benefit, the maslaha, and all these things. Now let's see what our hadith say about sidq and kithb. He says, first we talk about the negative outcomes of kithb. لا يخرجن من فيك كذبة أبدا. So let's see what is kithb or kadhib. He says lying is something that both intellect and religion, both intellect and the scriptures, have very strongly condemned. You cannot find in any ethical system, in any nation, that they would say lying is okay. In discussions about ethical relativism, I have sometimes mentioned this beautiful point that, since I read, I never forgot. And that is about three major values that seem to be universal. If you doubt anything, you cannot doubt these three, because without these three, no nation, no culture could have continued. One is the value of taking care of children. If any society didn't have this value, then their children would be abandoned and they die, because human children cannot survive by their own. It's not like animals. Animals, in a matter of few minutes or few hours or few weeks, they become independent. But human children take long to become independent. So if any culture that exists today in the world exists, it's because partly they believe that they should look after their children. Number two, respect for the parents. If there were no respect for parents, then the next generation would not have had children, because they say, why we should have children when they don't respect us? If they continue to exist, it's because there are always positive regard for the parents. By the way, unfortunately today we have problems here, and therefore this is why some people don't want to have children. Number 3, telling the truth. If all cultures were not committed to telling the truth, they would not have spoken. They would not have used language, because the whole concept of communication through language or via language is based on truthfulness. We say these words are to be used for these meanings, but if anyone can say whatever he likes without any commitment to truth, then language becomes useless. Language can only work when people agree to commit to using them for the particular meanings that they are allocated to, they are coined for. Even the people who tell lies, they can tell lies because people assume that they are using these words properly. People trust them. If there was a society in which everyone was lying, then you could not, tell lies, because it was useless. So telling truth is very fundamental value, and Aql understands that, and religion also has many things about this. But also telling lies, which is opposite to telling truth, may lead to other bad things. In addition to the vicious nature of kidhb, it can bring other bad things additionally. So it's a shar that can bring also other shurur, bad things that can bring other bad things. For example, you may lose your reputation, then you cannot do anything in the society. You become useless. You may damage someone's reputation, then that person cannot get married, cannot do anything, cannot start business, leading to lots of bad things. May lose iman. So lots of things can happen. In Wasa'il al-Shia, Sheikh Hurra Amili rahmatullah alayh, his grave is inside the shrine of Imam Raza alayhi salam, and there is a basement that you can go and see his grave. He quotes from Sheikh Kulayni rahmatullah alayh, and finally from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Inna Allah azza wa jal ja'ala lish-sharri aqfala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for shar, for the bad things, for the evil, locks. There are some locks, so that shar would be isolated. Not we go towards shar, shar doesn't come to us. It's isolated, secluded. وَجَعَلَ مَفَاتِيحَ تِلْكَ الْأَقْفَالِ الشَّرَابِ. And the keys to shar, the keys, not one key, the keys, mafatih, is sharab, is to get drunk, because then you lose your aql, and a human being without aql can't do anything. But وَالْكَذْبُ or وَالْكَذِبُ شَرٌ مِنَ الشَّرَابِ. Lying or telling lie is worse than or more vicious than sharab, than khamr, than something that make you drunk. This shows how much kidhb is bad, because a Muslim would understand that it's very bad to drink wine or alcoholic drinks and get drunk, and you don't understand all these things that they know very well. But lying is worse than that. And Imam Khomeini says, please think about this hadith, which is from Alim Al Muhammad. One of the titles of Imam Baqir is Alim Al Muhammad, like Imam Raza alayhi salam was also Alim Al Muhammad. Means someone whose knowledge was great and manifested the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Not that others had less knowledge, but manifestation of knowledge through this personality during his life was more than some others. And in Al-Kafi by Kulaini, there is such hadith. And he says all our ulama have also accepted this hadith. So there is no excuse, no way to, escape from this hadith. It's a very serious thing. And with this, how can someone dare lying? Unfortunately, we don't know malakuti realities of these scenes. But when we hear from Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, we should trust and we should accept. And we should not think this is mubalagha, this is exaggeration. There is no mubalagha. And even if you say, for example, maybe there is a little exaggeration, or I don't know, there is some emphasis, Imam Khomeini says, even, if there is a little mubalagha or emphasis, for example, means to, present it more than it is, which is a big if, because Ahlul Bayt were very careful about the way they worded their, ideas. But still, there is a limit in mubalagha. What can you do with mubalagha? You cannot say something which is less important is more important because you want to do mubalagha. Can you do this? It's impossible. So this can only be understood if we say really kazb is so bad that can be worse than sharab, worse than getting drunk. In another hadith, Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, Al-Kidhbu or Al-Kadhibu huwa kharabul iman. Or kharabul iman. Kharab or kharab, both it seems to be correct. Is destruction of iman, destruction of faith. Faith cannot remain intact when someone lies. And he says, Imam Khomeini says, such hadiths break the back of human being. So heavy and so strong that if you really understand, then you cannot even think of lying. But unfortunately, this disease has spread, and somehow we have lost sensitivity to the viciousness of this disease. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to a hadith from Imam Raza alayhi salam, was asked. Hadith is from Rasulullah, and the one who narrates is Imam Raza alayhi salam. Yakunul mu'minu jabanan. Rasulullah was asked, can mu'min be fearful? Rasulullah said, Na'am. Yes, a mu'min can be fearful. Qila wa yakunu bakhilan. Is it possible that a mu'min is miserly? So yes, he should not be, but it's possible. Means he's not perfect in iman, but he's mu'min. Wa yakunu kadhaban. Also, can a mu'min be kadhab, tell lies, Especially kadhab means someone who tells lies, often or more than once, because kadhib means the one who is lying, and kadhab is someone who lies more. Qala Allah. Rasulullah said, no. This is not like fear. This is not like bukhl or miserliness. Kazb conflicts with iman. So it's not that it's a matter of lacking perfection or high degrees of iman. Kazb uproots iman. This is about kazb. Also, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Arba riba al-kazb or al-kadhib. The worst type of riba usury is kadhib. Means kadhib is even worse than many types of riba. It's a very bad kind of riba. And you know that how bad is riba in Islam. Then we have many hadiths which say even lying as a kind of joke is to be avoided. Sheikh Khurra Amili rahmatullah alayh, the same person we talked about, in his Wasa'il Shia, has a chapter that the title is, it means that he believed in this idea of prohibition. باب تحريم الكذب أو الكذب في الصغير والكبير والجد والهزل عدا ما استثني. This was his fatwa. Lying is haram. So it's about the prohibition of lying, whether it is small or big, serious or humorous, except few things which are excluded. There are things that are mustathnayat, exceptions of prohibition. Like ghiba, backbiting is haram. There are exceptions which are clearly defined. Lying is haram, but there are exceptions. For example, maybe a mujtahid gives fatwa that if the only way to bring reconciliation between two people or two groups of people is to lie for islah dhatul bayn, reconciliation, it's permitted. It's istithna, exception, because the division, separation is so bad, which is worse than badness of lying. But if there is no such thing that overrides, lying should be avoided. In Kafi, there is hadith from Imam Baqir alayhi salam that Imam Baqir says Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam used to say to his children. So Imam Zainul Abidin used to say to his children, avoid lying, whether it's small or big, whether it is serious or humorous. Because if someone says or tells a lie in small things, then he would get the courage to tell lies for major things and big things. So we have to be very, very careful about lying. And then Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam says, Ama alimtum أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال ما يزال العبد يصدق حتى يكتبه الله صديقا. Rasulullah, don't you know that Rasulullah said, a servant of Allah keeps telling the truth till Allah would register him as Siddiq, most truthful. So telling the truth is the basic, but if you keep continuing and building truthfulness after truthfulness, then your character becomes truthful. وَمَا يَزَالُ الْعَبْدِ يَكْذِبْ حَتَّى يَكْتُبَهُ اللَّهُ كَذَّابًا. Then a person also can keep lying, and then Allah would register him or write him down, means in a list. He'd register him, consider him as kadhab, the liar. Also in Kafi, Asbagh ibn Nubata says that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam said, لا يجد عبد طعم الإيمان حتى يترك الكذب جده وحزله, or حزله وجده. No servant of Allah can taste Iman unless he or she avoids lying, whether it is small or big in other hadiths, and here whether it is jid or hazl, means serious or humorous. Also Rasulullah said to Abu Dhar, Ya Abu Dhar, waylun lilladhi yuhaddith فَيَكْذِبْ لِيَضْحَكَ بِهِ الْقَوْمِ أو لِيُضْحِكَ بِهِ الْقَوْمَ. Both are correct. Waylun lahu, waylun lahu. Or about that, woe to the people or person or people who speak and then they tell lies so that make people laugh or so that people laugh. This is very much also condemned. So Imam Khomeini says, with such hadith, it's really strange and odd if someone dares, telling lie. And we should be very careful about our truthfulness, especially something that is the basic requirement is how to tell the truth. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said in a famous hadith, كونوا دعاة للناس بالخير بغير ألسنتكم. Call people towards good without your tongues. ليروا منكم الاجتهاد والصدق والورع. They should see in you, not just hear from you. This is the difference. They should see in you al-ijtihad was-sidq wal-wara. They should see that you are hard-working people, not lazy people, not people who put their burden on others. As-sidq, you are truthful, and wara, pious. Wara means piety. If they see you are pious and truthful and hard-working people, they will be attracted to you. They can see your truthfulness in other things. This is very important. For example, in an office, I am working with some people. They see I am truthful about my job, about what I, tell them about my, for example, work, other things. Then they can trust me in other areas. They will be attracted automatically to my faith. So it's not just enough to say nice things. They should see a nice character in you. And then maybe even you don't need to say that much. If needed, you can speak, but maybe sometimes there is no need because they already get the idea from you. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, we finished this first chapter about Kadhb and Sidq. Inshallah, in the next chapter, we talk about Wara, which was the second thing which was mentioned in the Hadith. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be always truthful and with the truthful people. Ittaqullah wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen. We should be with the truthful people also. This is part of our requirement to the truth, that we admire and associate with the people who are truthful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.